How's it going? About 10 months ago, I bought this 1995 Nissan 300ZX in really rough shape. And since then, I've been working on restoring it, fixing it up, and I did manual swap it as well. Basically trying to bring this thing back to its former glory. And during all of the restoration work and all of the manual swapping work, I kept track of all of the parts prices, basically every last dollar I spent on this thing. And today, I want to go over the entire list. As painful as it will be for me, hopefully it'll help you guys out. All right, let's get started. All right, so let's start off with what I spent the most money on, which was interior restoration parts. So when I first bought this car, I had a broken radio bezel center section, and I replaced it with an aftermarket one with a larger radio opening, so I could install a stereo with a larger screen and a backup camera. That was $129. The stereo and all 4 speakers were $346. I bought a new driver's side airbag for $30. I bought a rear hatch striker trim piece for $19. I actually lost it somewhere during the car painting process, so I might actually have to buy that one again. A new e-brake boot was $20. A new window switch trim piece was $33. A new dashboard gauge top was $15 I found at a junkyard. I also found a rear hatch power popper system, and that was $23. All of the parts to repair my loose windows were $46. I bought a set of floor mats for $49. The caps for the screws for my radio bezel were $38. Some center dash vents, $14. A set of used door hinges were $28. The black leather seats were $300. The leather piece that I bought to reupholster my steering wheel was $16. A new set of struts for the rear hatch were $19. The seal for my rear quarter glass was $10. The used twin turbo wheels I bought for this thing were $140. I got a really good deal on those guys. The center cover for the engine was $44. A new set of timing bolt covers was $15, and there was a handful of miscellaneous parts, clips, and things like that. I combined them all because there's way too many to list. That's another $100. And lastly, the paint for my car, including all of the supplies and hardener, reducer, all of that stuff was $180. So that's a total of what I'll call restoration parts of $1,614. All right, so next let's go over all of the costs that I had to spend for swapping this thing over to a manual transmission. Now, when I first bought this car, it actually came with a manual transmission in the trunk. So I saved a huge cost there, obviously. So of course you'll have to add on the price of whatever it costs to buy a manual transmission and a used clutch pedal. But I did have to buy pretty much everything else. So a new center console cost me $40. A shifter plate was $10. A used shifter boot was $20. I did buy a used drive shaft, and it was a one-piece aluminum drive shaft, and that was $300. The clutch slave cylinder was $18, and the clutch master cylinder was $21. I got a set of ARP flywheel bolts, that was $45. I got a clutch kit, which includes the clutch, pressure plate, and flywheel, that was $196. That's probably just about as cheap as you're gonna get one. I bought a clutch fluid line, that was $58. I did replace my transmission input shaft seal, that was $18. And I replaced the output shaft seal as well, that was $13. Of course, I put in a fresh set of transmission fluid, and that was $83. I sprung for the good stuff there. A new upgraded brass shifter bushing was $16. A new shift fork boot was $25. I also replaced the inner shifter boot, kind of dust shield. That was $27. I bought a used dust shield, which is the plate that goes between the engine and the transmission, and that was $40. And I treated myself to a brand new OEM leather shift knob, and that was $93. So the grand total for everything you need for swapping a 300ZX manual transmission, minus the transmission and the clutch pedal, is $1,023. All right, so lastly, I have all of the parts that I had to put into the engine and making the engine run, basically repair parts for the car. And luckily, when I bought this car, it was actually running pretty well. I guess I kind of chose to buy this car because it was running well. So I didn't really have to spend too much to get the engine back up and running pretty much perfectly. So I did have to buy a cruise control actuator. This guy was $28. I had to buy a new key fob to get my factory alarm and keyless entry working. That was $39. My oil and oil filter was $47. I did include an oil change. I told you this would be a very complete list. I got a new battery for $43, and I got kind of a deal on it because my old battery was still under like a partial Nissan warranty. I've replaced my oil pressure sensor, that was $56. I replaced an oil pan seal, that was $13. A pair of new exhaust flange gaskets were $9. I did have to replace my fuel pump, which turned out to be a big reason why the engine wasn't running so well, and that was $190. A new rear main seal was $19. A new fuel filter was $17. The idle air control valve gasket was $7. Intake gasket, $26. A new coolant temperature sensor was $12. The O-rings for this guy, the balance tube, were $10. A set of valve cover gaskets were $48. A fresh set of OEM spark plugs, $66. I did have to replace these radiator bushings right here because this guy was all floppy, and those were $20. And lastly, a handful of vacuum tubes for the engine, $53. So that's a grand total of engine tune-up and fix-up parts, $703. All right, so that's it. That brings the grand total out to $3,350. However, I did sell some parts along the way, of course. I sold those old chrome 5-spoke wheels for $300, which was more than twice what I spent on these original OEM twin turbo wheels. I sold the old seats for $200, and I sold the engine to transmission brackets for my automatic transmission for $30. So the real total is actually $2,820. Now, of course, the most important cost of all, the car itself. I bought this guy for $5,800. And at least at the time of filming, that probably sounds like quite a bit to spend on a naturally aspirated automatic car in rough shape. But I definitely chose this car very carefully and bought something with really, really straight panel gaps and a pretty good running low miles engine, 145,000 miles. So that brings the entire cost of the project to about $8,600. I guess the question is it worth it? Restoring your own car or just buying something that's already in good condition? It's very, very hard to say. Obviously, you kind of plan these projects, but when you really start buying parts, they add up very, very quickly. I definitely wouldn't sell this car for $8,600, so it makes me feel like it's worth more than that. So I'll call it a success, and hopefully this was helpful. I think this should give you a pretty good idea what it's going to cost you for your own 300ZX or probably any 90s car restoration.